I'm going to talk about this. This is helpful for a high level right now. For listings, for buyers, for getting stuff. We talked about we're in a marketplace with lots of resistance, right? So what's happened the past couple of years, we have this huge gap. The gap's like this. So you have, let's say agents, and this is 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 25, 26, right? What's happened, you have this is buyers, this is sellers. Sellers think theirs worth way more than it actually is. Buyers think it's worth way less than it actually is. And so what does that leave? A large gap. And so the problem most agents, while they're struggling right now, is they're still stuck in the middle because they can't bridge the gap. They're not good at doing what? Having influence, getting sellers down and buyers up. And so right now, if you want to get a seller down, you have to have this ability to do two main things. Okay? And those two main things are, number one, called collision. Right? What do you notice a lot of buyers are doing in terms of offers? I've had multiple 50% asking price. And so there's no data to back that up in any way at all, right? And so that's the key. Even if the house is in bad shape, I have a flip right now. I just got a contract on it. I was telling the story yesterday. I think we're listed at $379. She made me offer like $300, $320 minus like closing costs where they put on it. And I just rejected it. And it was a VA offer. And she's like, call me. She's like, she's an experienced agent. But she said, why did you reject the offer? Was it the VA or the price? I said, both. I said, the price is terrible. So she said, well, why is that? She goes, it needs some work. I said, good. Go ahead and sell them the other house, east of 17 in Myrtle Beach. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, go ahead and sell them the other one in the same area. She's like, well, what does that mean? I said, it's $720,000. Double the price. You can sell them that one or you can sell them this one. It's up to you. And guess what happened? She said, give me a counter and we'll see what I can do. Counted her back, came off $10,000 with $10,000 closing costs, and guess what they did? They accepted it. But a lot of times they got to be able to do what? Allow the people there to take orders from the client. And so the more you allow with your people, aka your clients and sellers, you get them down in price. The more you allow the buyers right now, the more you get them up. Does that make sense? And so that's the key thing. What's the word collision mean? There's two main things. Collision means obviously a collision with the client, ideally verbally, right? Meaning I come back and we do what? So I have a client here. We have a collision verbally, emotionally, obviously not physically, but you could potentially have that type of collision. Okay? This is my ability to do what? Collide with them in their worldview. The problem is most people aren't very good at doing that, because if they do it, what happens? They get triggered and all of a sudden it blows up, right? And so communication is where I can take the ability to insert an idea into their mind, right? And how they're seeing the world. And so I take the idea, I put that into their mind, and then ultimately once I do that, I'm able to do what? Get them to do, meaning what? Price reduction, reduce a listing in the beginning, make a better offer, whatever it is. I'm going to go deep on this today. I think this is what everybody needs to hear to get much higher deal acceptance ratio, get their listings down. But this is a big important thing right now. And so I have to be able to do both, because I'm not going to be able to communicate the idea in their mind and get them to do anything unless I do what? Collide with them. And so that's just something that's super important for us to look at ideally. Most people suck at collision, right? They suck at collision-based communication. Why? It's uncomfortable, right? They're scared of it. But if I have a listing, don't collide with them, what happens? Well, they're going to hate your guts anyway. Make sense? Baron and I were talking about yesterday. Baron had a past client. Somebody asked for an agent in Carolina Forest, right? Anyways, they had a house listed with us, and the person recommended us, and I think Baron, all of a sudden these random people came on there and said, oh, I would never use it. I would never use them, right? They're terrible. They didn't sell my house. They were overpriced with us. They didn't come down. They listed another agent for like $20,000 less, and then finally it sold a month later. Right? Was it us or the price? Right? And so the point is, you have to have this collision up front. Makes sense? Or they believe, and they're still angry 2 years later about something, that they were wrong in the first place. Right? And so this is why collision is so important. I share this because you have my ability, not the right, but you have the obligation to collide with them, or otherwise they're going to become detractors for you the long term. Even though they're wrong. Does that make sense? They write 2 offers up, don't get accepted, they go find a different agent. Guess what happens the next 10 years? They talk about you, your name comes up. They blame you as the problem. Meanwhile, they were making low offers. Does that make sense, you guys? And so you cannot be scared to have collisions if it's done right. What's the number one problem you think of people when it comes down to collision? Most are big liars, right? Most agents are liars. So what does that mean? You don't have the certainty to have a collision because what? They live in a land of maybe. They say they'll be at the huddle, they don't show up at the huddle. They say they'll be somewhere, don't show up. And so they don't ever keep their word. And so it's really hard for them to force somebody else to do what? Keep their word. It's hard for them to hold the line for themselves, so they can't hold the line to anybody else. That's the number one reason people don't have collisions. They don't have a high standard for themselves, so it's hard for them to do what? Hold somebody else to a high standard. That's the number one secret. I'm telling you guys, this is subconscious, very, very important. Number two, they lack focus, which is another one, right? They lack focus. What does that mean? They can't bring the client to a certain place to actually focus on one thing, so it ends up being a bunch of different conversations and collisions. Number two, they lack a frame. They don't have any way to put boundaries around the client, the way the client's thinking, the way the client's talking, and so they end up chasing the client through all these rabbit holes, which we'll talk about that in a second. Then also, they don't have any client control, right? Meaning what? The client's controlling them. The client's dictating the stipulations. It's happened to a lot of us on the listing side the past 6 months. We've had a lot of this where clients dictate the price. I step in. Oh, it's 45% above the average price square foot in the neighborhood. I'm like, holy, right? Who dictated that price? Seller did, in some cases, right? And so this is something you're running into. Then they blame it back on us, right? And then the other part is they're operating from a place of desperation. So they're so desperate for the deal, they're so worried about the deal blowing up. What do they not do? Collide, which ultimately ends up sabotaging them anyways, and the deal falls through and doesn't happen. Does it make sense? And the last one is they're trying to move from a place of motivation. This is important. What does that mean? I can't motivate them. The only thing I can do is what? Influence them and collide with them about what? What moves more than motivation? Pain, pain, pain. We have to understand that I can't motivate somebody to get the price right. I have to do what? Show them the pain of why they're priced wrong and what's costing them and the cost of them not taking action. Does that make sense? It's a whole lot more effective than doing what? Hey, if we get this price right, we can sell it. That's not going to work right now. And so most people, the number one problem is just a big liar. They got to be able to live in a place of yes or no and have a high standard to make it work, right? And so most have no frame they operate on. I'm going to teach you guys something really cool I think to help most of y'all. I haven't really taught this in a while, a very long time. It's very relevant right now. They have no framework. What does that mean? And so what happens is I'm going to call and get this price reduction. All of a sudden, the price reduction becomes what? A back and forth. You're not marketing my home. You're not doing this. You're not doing this. The photos suck, right? Whatever. It comes about everything else except what? The price, because there's no frame to control that. Does that make sense? This is very important because the emotional side, they're always going to do what? Blame you as the agent or the market based on what's at. Buyers blame market, sellers blame the agent every single time. Does it make sense? And so what do most people end up doing? They try to collide from a place of free flow. What does that mean? The problem with that is if I don't have a process and I'm free flowing, what happens? You get very inconsistent results, right? Things don't work very well in terms of that. And so what ends up happening is all of a sudden your results looks like this. If you're on fire that day, things are good. If you're not on fire, they're not good. And so what happens is your results look like this. If I get a cool seller, I'll get the price down. If I get somebody who's analytical, not as cool, price doesn't come down. And so I have no way to get consistent results because why? I have no framework to get this process done consistently. Does that make sense, you guys? Same thing with your buyers. Your offers don't get accepted unless you get a good rapport with the people, and they're pretty easygoing people. And the problem is I missed the difficult ones which matter the most. And so what needs to happen, or what really kind of matters here with this is I got to make sure I'm really good at creating a frame. And the frame, when you're having a collision, I must be able to set the frame. I must be able to hold space. And so what that means is I have to have a clear entrance to the frame, and I have to have a clear exit to the frame. What does that mean? I need to be able to set parameters, right, about what? The conversation. So I got to have rules and intention and ultimately a frame around the conversation. I have them here in their before situation, right? What they are, they're before. This is who they are here. Their current what? We'll call it worldview, self-view, and situation. And so their current worldview, his worldview is what? And the photos aren't good enough. It's the photos. I see my own photos once you use those photos. That's the problem, right? And so that's the belief he's at, but ultimately we want to get him to a place where he's liberated in reality because he has a condo that's losing $2,000 a month in value. Does that make sense? And so for me to get from here to here, the true influence is going to come here in a conversation. And so the conversation I have here, right, is ideally I want to liberate him or her, themselves, from what? Their limiting beliefs. Whatever beliefs hold them back from what the situation is. Does this make sense? And so with that, I'm going to have two main things. I have to have a collision and a conversation. Does this make sense? And so here, have empowerment, belief, in terms of who he is and what he can do and what we can do in that situation. This is true with anybody. This is all what we call consulting. This is how you consult people, okay? Use from business people, whatever it is in that scenario. And what I'm trying to get through here is a place of power, purpose, right? To make what? I'm looking to do what? Decision. Now, here's the key part. No frame, no game. What does that mean? I'm going to teach you how to do a frame in a minute, but I'm just setting it up. No game. What does that mean? No frame, no game. I don't have conditions, right, of what they are. So my frame here allows me to do what? Keep the conversation within the what? The boundaries. If I don't have a clear intention, a clear frame set for the collision and the conversation I'm having, what else happens? This is what it looks like here. My conversation looks like this. And so I'm talking to my seller about why the property hasn't sold, and this is what the conversation looks like. And what do they tend to do? Blame everything except the actual problem, which is what? It's your photos. You didn't show up. That one agent didn't show up to the showing. Open house person showed up 2 minutes late, right? Any reason in the world except what the real problem is. For example, Tim's got in River Oaks, 54 condos. He's the 44th most expensive one. The feedback was 3 out of 5. And what made me really jump on him was he was complaining back about the feedback we gave him that says a 3 out of 5. And it was our agent who showed it, and he was mad their agent gave bad feedback. I'm like, dude, this shows you that he's what? Delusional about reality. And so my job at that point is to do what? Bring it back into reality. I got to bring it back to reality. So you break down price square foot. The average price square foot, there's 5 pending out of 55, which is not good odds. You guys with me on that? Average price square foot of pending condo River Oaks, $165 a square foot. He is 198, 198, which is over 23% higher than the average price square foot. So I give this in this great breakdown, explain to him. Guess what he writes back? Photos still don't look good, and you better cut your commission to be able to make this, let's get one thing right. You need to cut your, I'm thinking, this dude is still delusional. So I had to do what? Have a collision. Now, if it's my client directly, I have the reporter call and say, I'll send the video. So here's what I'm learning at. The email I send beforehand is what the setup is for the collision. So if I give you the very specific data, I set the frame. Hey, look, that's what my email is about. Here's the data. Here's the comps. And so what I'm doing with that data, 55 active, your 44th most expensive one, right? Price square foot, you're 23% higher. All this other stuff, what does that do? That sets the frame. And so what I want to do is then have a collision, because no matter what he's going to tell me about the photos, about whatever, what do I go back to? That's really cool. I appreciate that. But guess what? That doesn't fix the 43 other ones that are cheaper than you that are better. And I even put that in the thing. In the video, I said, look, we can bring our buyer like we did 2 separate towns. We brought 2 separate buyers to your condo. And guess what they didn't do? Buy it, because there's 44 other cheaper ones that are better than yours, at least from a value standpoint. So no matter what we do, and so I wrote back an email. I said, hey, Adam, we can have Fox News and CNN broadcast every day live from the front of your building from now until eternity, and it statistically will never, ever, ever, ever make a difference. You know why? It's statistically impossible for your condo to ever sell in its current price. You know why? There's 55, your 44th most expensive one, you're 23% higher than price square foot, whatever it is, and it's listed all down there below. Right? And so that's an ideal of making sure you don't go here. Where? He can talk about photos all he wants, because all that's what? Irrelevant. I went hard because this guy was coming back hard, and you can't. I knew no matter what, he's going to turn on us if I don't have a hard collision. I'd rather give the 50-50 chance that he does come to reality. He may still hate me, but he's going to get the condo done. Now, in addition to that, I said, no problem, man. Condos right now are losing 13% per year. So for you, you're losing $2,000 a month in equity. You have 2 choices right now. So you have 2 choices. You can ride this one down, or you can correct the price now and save money. It's up to you. Your decision. Because you write it down, what happens? You're losing $2,000 a month. The longer you wait, the more it costs. My job is to hold the mirror up. Hey, I appreciate that about the photos, but let me ask you this. If we had the most amazing photos on the planet, right, and we're still the 44th most expensive one, what do you think happens? Not a damn thing. So let's don't worry about photos right now. Let's worry about the main problem, right? And then I'm going to go back to whatever it is. Now, if we were the 3rd most expensive one and the photos are bad, different conversation, right? That may make or break a difference, but when I'm 44th, there's nothing that matters. We have a friggin' telescope shooting there. It's not going to make a difference, right? So my job is to do what? Hold the frame. Now, what sets a frame for you guys in art? What's the number one way to set a frame as an agent? I'm going to simplify right now. What's the number one way? Data. Data, 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 data. Most of y'all, when I look at what you send your clients, is what? There's no data that does what? There's no data that does what? Sets a clear frame and it's non-negotiable. So you leave too much for them to be able to argue with you about. So if I'm making an offer, right, and I want to make a good offer that gets accepted, I need to have what? Data. Hey, I appreciate you making an offer 80% of value, but looks like they're selling right now for 96% in this area. Here's what all the data. And you have all the data overwhelmingly so that you can do what? Collide with them. And what sets the frame? The data. You see my point? If I have the right data, that's my frame and nothing else matters. Make sense? Y'all, we'll go show properties in a neighborhood, and they like that neighborhood. And they ask you a question about the neighborhood, and you don't know the answer, but they do. Why? Looking at Zillow about 7 times as much. If they know that, you're done. Your authority and your ability to influence is done. And so most of you got to study the market better, know what? The data better. Okay? Starts with list sale price ratios, areas, zip code data, whatever it is in that scenario. Does that make sense? And so here's the key part. Second part here. I want you guys to write this. Inside the frame, your job is to be the mirror. What does that mean? Number 2, be the mirror. You set the frame, then what do? You attack them for being wrong. If I attack them for being wrong, what happens? Resistance, right? And so here, we have the frame. I enter them into the frame through the entrance, right? And then they're in the frame. My job is to be outside the frame. Here, doing what? Holding a big fat mirror that's doing what to them? The facts, the facts, the facts, the facts, the facts. You guys with me on this? And so I want you guys to write this down. This is not about you. You don't ever let it be about you. I appreciate that, Jeremy. I appreciate you feel that way. I totally understand where you're coming from. But let me show you this. Here's data, here's data, here's data, here's data, here's data, here's data, here's data. I appreciate you not liking the photos. We can easily fix the photos, but let me show you what's more important than the photos and what the actual problem is, right? Back to what? The data. Always data that can make you do anything and anything you want. But if I know I have something that's not selling, my job as the expert to figure out what data is it that I need to be able to look at and understand to get the outcome I desire, because obviously something's wrong. If it was priced right, what would happen? It'd already be sold. It'd already be under contract. And so you got to figure out, what am I missing here? And so my job is to be a mirror. What am I mirroring back to them? Facts, 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 facts. Period. And so the facts are, here's our showings, here's our feedback. Hey, the feedback's 3 out of 5. They said we're overpriced. Hey, the last 6 showings also overpriced. The facts in the mirror. He was not held in a frame of collision. Hey, I appreciate you feel that way, right? But the price square foot in your area, the closest homes around here, is X amount. You want to price it at 45% higher than that. What do you think is going to happen? Well, there's a house near me that sold for $720. Okay, cool. That's the only house that sold for that amount per square foot. Let's look at it. Do you have this in the back? No. Do you have this in the back? Nope. Do you have this upgrade? Nope. Do you have a new kitchen? Nope. Do you have the stainless steel appliances? Nope. Do you have this? Nope. So based on that, do you have anything close to this other house? Nope. So would it be safe to say that comp is irrelevant? Yes. The good news is I included that in the price square foot, that you're 45% higher and you're still higher than that other one. So based on that data, does it make sense to price it at $599? No. So what did I do there? Did I say you're wrong? I did what? I showed the mirror through what? Questions that point to what? The facts. The problem is most agents don't have a clear mirror to hold up. What does that mean? You don't have the right data to show them. You don't have the authority. You don't have the belief in yourself to actually hold and do the research. So what's the lesson there? You got to make sure you understand price square foot, things around there, what's selling, what's not selling, because what happened? He got him when he pulled the random 720 comp out, which he wasn't what? Familiar with. But if you're familiar with it, you're able to do what? Battle with them. This is important. What's our third piece here? Our job is to hold space around this frame. What does that mean? Don't jump in with them. Don't become personal battle. Hey, Jeremy, I think you screwed this up. You should have called me more. Hey, I appreciate that. I documented that I did call you every 7 days like I said I would. But more importantly, there's a bigger problem than that. Data, 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 data. Right? I could have called you every 35 minutes, Jeremy, and guess what wouldn't happen? It wouldn't have sold. You know why? Because the most important piece of data and the most important fact, we haven't addressed it yet. We can address the phone calls. I'd call you more if you like to, but we need to address the most important fact first. And so what do I not do?
Make it about you.
I don't make it about me, which means if I don't make it about me, I don't do what? React emotionally. If I react emotionally, what happens to the frame? Frame's gone. And so this is what I'm getting at. Your job is to be mirror. Same thing buyer side. Because a lot of you get low offers, and what do? Sure, let's just try it out. And all of a sudden, it doesn't happen. You don't get the offer accepted. And all of a sudden, you just wasted that buyer. Make sense? So if you know it's a low offer, you got to use the same exact process. James, are you a contractor? I got to control the frame. If James walk around the property telling me everything else, who's the authority? So for me to get authority back, what I need to do? I've done it before too. Hey, James, are you a realtor? I didn't know. Are you a realtor? Oh, you're not a realtor. Okay. Because you're talking about comps, I wasn't sure. And I say it like nicely, not like a dick. But I'm like, okay, you're talking about comps and what things you're selling for. I thought you might be a realtor. Okay, right? Hey, you're a contractor? And like I say it with the right tonality, like curiosity, not judgment, right? Oh, you're not a contractor. Okay, how'd you get those prices? This is what I'm talking about. This is a great example. And here's the deal. If I don't collide with him, what happens to him at the end? So you see my point? Anytime that you know there's a collision, you avoid the collision, what happens? They're gone. They're gone every time. So there is no fear to be collision. Guess what the seller's not going to do? Let me ask you this, James. When they listed this house, do you think they knew it needed some cabinets? Do you think the owner probably knew it needed some work of this? Let me ask you this, James. Based on that, do you think they probably might have priced this place in condition that it's inside? Yes. Okay. So with that said, James, we know it's probably already priced based on these upgrades that it needs or these corrections that it needs. What do you think the seller's going to do when you make an offer $100,000 under asking price? I'm going to tell you what to do, James. You're going to put a finger on the paper and send it back to us. Do you want that? Why? Because well, guess what? James needs to hear this because what happens? And here's if I did my rapport on the front end the right way, you guys think I'm crazy. If you do this right way in the front end, I can have that conversation with James and laugh about it. And guess what James does? Makes a better offer. But let's say you guys, this is one you guys all get a lot. Well, this needs this, and this needs this. Your two questions are, number one, what? Are you a contractor? I didn't know you're a contractor. You're a contractor? Oh, you're not? Okay. Where'd you get the price from? You just made it up? Okay, cool. All right. Well, let me ask you this, James. Do you think they might have known the condition of the friggin' house when they listed on the MLS today? Probably just a wild guess, right? Think the seller knew the cabinets weren't working or whatever it was? Okay, so with that said, do you think he priced it as is in current condition? So if we know that's the case, what do you think happens when we make an offer based on it being in bad condition when it's already priced in for bad condition? You see what I'm saying? Number one, you guys are missing out on the shit. That's why I can't find, there's an app right now that tell you an estimate. Just take a picture of it, boom, what will this be? Oh, 10,000 actually says right here it's 4,900. So, but the best thing you guys, do you think they knew the condition of the house and they priced it this way? Right? Just like that lady told me on my flip. Hey, I know it's in bad shape. But do you think we knew that when we priced it half of what everything else was? Right? So that's a key point. That help you guys? Become the medicine. I have a process I'm going through. I've set a frame of what? Conditions to the conversation. And I'm doing what? I'm just holding the mirror up. And I'm not saying, hey, James, let me ask you, do you think they knew the condition of the house? All I'm doing is what? The mirror, because he's emotionally one. And so this is what every buyer does. Right? Last couple of things. How do you do that? How do we set the frame? Right? That's what you guys want to know. How do I set a frame with somebody? Here's what you do. So I'm going to write one. I'm going to set the frame. I'm going to tell them, here's what it's going to be. So I'm going to send an email. Like, for example, if it's a listing, I'm sending the email with just like I do, right? I'm going to say, hey, Jeremy, how's it going, man? How are things going? Did you get the email? Cool. And you're going to do first, so basically you're going to set the intention the first 1 to 3 minutes. So I'm doing an offer. A lot of y'all aren't having a collision conversation before you write the offer up. And so what happens? You end up writing the offer up because you don't have a frame to have a collision with them. There should be some debate when it comes up to offer. Does that make sense? When your buyer wants to write an offer, set the intention in the frame for today's call. Let me show you the intention. The main intention is for us to go through the comps and the feedback of what you had on your showings today. Make sense? Set the conditions. What we're going to do, Jeremy, we're going to go through the comps and the data. When I went through the data, based on the data, it looks like about 22% higher than the average price square foot. And so there's no way it's possibly going to sell for that. Our main condition, the main thing today is just to go through the data together and see what we can do to get that corrected or just change our expectations. Whatever it is. Make sense? So intention here, we're going to go over this. Conditions, we want to make sure we make an offer that's strategic based on actual data, not feelings or drama. We base ours based on data, not vibes. Let me set the intention and frame for today's conversation so that we can get the most out of today's meeting or conversation. Does that make sense? The word you guys want to use here is what? Because where are they going to try to go? They're going to try to go to feelings and fantasy. Does that make sense, you guys? And so that's key part. Here's the thing to do, and here's a key part I'm doing. I want to establish the win. Jeremy, the goal at the end today is that we have a correction of price to get where it's at, or we're going to change the expectations of what reality is for you guys. Right? Super simple. That may trigger them a little bit, but I want them to know, hey, look, I'm going to come at you for something, but I'm setting the conditions. Make sense? And the key word here is facts, because every time they want to talk about the data and the facts about the property not selling. And most importantly, why it's not selling. Make sense? And if I did it right, I go back to what every single time? Data, which is also what? Verifiable facts. The facts and the data say otherwise. The facts and the data say otherwise. Does that make sense, you guys? And so how do I do it the right way? How do you win this? You have the client say the win. So Tim, based on the fact that we're 55 condos listed in River Oaks, we're the 44th most expensive one, we're 23% higher than the average price per square foot of what's pending. What do you think happens when we stay at the same price?
We're not going to sell.
If we had a camera from NASA and they were shooting fake photos in the living room and NASA was shooting, you think it would change the outcome? Definitely not. So what do you think the most important thing we probably need to do today is? Get the price. So I want them to say, great. The question now becomes, what's the actual right price, right? Now, once they kind of open that up, we're able to get that part, right? So that's the key part. Here's the crazy part. 8 out of 10 times, guess what's going to happen initially? They don't know what the win is. They just want to be angry about you because they don't look at reality. And so the more I show the mirror, the more I ask the questions, the more I get them to reality. Ultimately, at the end, I get them where they ultimately are going to hopefully be able to establish a win. Does that make sense? Number one, how do I do in the call? Number one, I clarify the facts. Jeremy, I appreciate you feel that way, but the facts say otherwise. The data says otherwise. Hey, Roman, I appreciate you want to make an offer for $100,000 on the asking price. The data says otherwise. The data says that they price this property based on its current condition. Average price square foot in the neighborhood, $200. They price this one at $175. What does that tell you? They definitely took into account the price. If we know they took account of the condition when they already put the price on, what does that tell you about you making a lowball offer? Probably not going to happen, right? So, see what I'm saying? So clarify the facts is super important. Very important. And then after I clarify the facts, what do? I create the facts of the win. So here's what I have. I have their current, where they're at right now, right? I enter into the frame. This way I have the collision. I have the exit from the frame. What's the exit from the frame? That's our win, right? You guys with me on this? And so here, I have them in here. We're having a collision. I'm out here doing what? Showing the mirror. We're going back and forth having this collision here. The first place I start is I show them the facts of what? I'm clarifying the facts of where they're at right now. Here's the current facts of where we're at. Here's your property. Here's your price per square foot. Here's what's happening, whatever it is. Then I'm going to clarify the facts of what? What's actually selling. Here's the price per square foot selling. Here's what the competition is. Here's the other comps. Here's what the feedback says, whatever it is. And so I have their facts here of where they're at. What's the ultimate missing piece here? What's their vision? This is how you get them to make the right decision. Now I'm going to clarify the facts about the vision. This is where everybody messes this up. Hey, I know you said you want to get $400,000 for the property. We know the comp say it's worth $380,000. We also know you want to see your grandkids in Virginia, right? Or the one lady who's dying of cancer. You want to spend time with your daughter who's dying of cancer, right? The vision you had for me when I met you in the first time in the living room here was that you want to get back and see your daughter and spend those valuable time with her while she's still healthy before the cancer obviously has an impact. Would you agree? Yes. Let me ask you this, Tim. Is $20,000 to have a year extra with your daughter worth it? You definitely would, right? This is where people get uncomfortable. But what I got to do? This happened twice recently. One was a grandkids, one was a sick daughter. Right? And obviously I'd frame the question a little differently. What's the number for you for it to be for you to miss out in a year with your grandchildren? 2 years with your grandchildren. I know you say hang on to it, but let me ask you this. If there's $20,000 apart here, if you could spend $20,000 to get 2 more years with your grandchildren, would you do it?
Yeah, of course.
Damn right you would do it. So I'm going to go ahead and do it right now. See what I'm saying? So facts of where they're at. Facts of what they need to be at, which is like pricing here, and then what I need to add to that. The facts of the vision, the outcome, the ultimate win. But most agents, 99 out of 100 aren't going to do what? Have this tough conversation, the one they actually need to hear. Here's the deal. I want you guys to write this down. We do not leave the conversation without an action item. We don't leave the conversation without an action item. They need to know, hey, what's the next step? We don't want to waste another year. What do we need to do?
We need to get the price changed.
You need to correct the price. Why is that? Because the math doesn't math. You're here, all the ones selling it here, and you need to get here today. What's the disconnect? The only thing disconnect us today is price. And so if we got to correct that, I get you to your daughter. And guess what? If it costs you $20,000 extra dollars to have 2 more years with your daughter, it's damn worth it. We know it is. So let's get that done today and not wait any longer. Make sense? This is one of the best things I ever learned through Warrior